There are three things certain in life: death, taxes, and Republicans blaming everything on Democrats. And now that I think about it, they do support the rich not paying taxes, so maybe there are only two things that are certain in life. Wait, no, there are three things that are certain in life. Because if ever there are acts of political violence, Republicans will blame it on Democrats and their hateful rhetoric. I'm going to show footage of the latest Republican to play the blame game over the bombing of the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, where Governor Shapiro and his family were sleeping after the first night of Passover. And I know what you're thinking. Well, an act of political violence like this must have been committed by MS-13. No, it wasn't. Well, then it was probably committed by that notorious Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua. Nope. And oddly enough, it wasn't Haitians either. But that's just because they're probably too busy eating the cats and eating the dogs of the people who live there. Now, the person responsible for firebombing the governor's mansion does not fit any kind of the usual suspected profile. He was white, male, with a history of violence and documented mental illness. His name is Cody Balmer, and he posted this on social media in 2022. So who could have seen this coming? Am I right? And all those mental health resources that Republicans are devoted to providing so that we don't take their guns? Well, somehow they didn't manage to trickle down to Cody. Balmer's mother, Christy Balmer, told CBS News her son is mentally ill and he went off his medication. She also said that she reached out to multiple police departments last week in an effort to get him picked up, but she couldn't get anybody to help. Local media had this to say.
Says they repeatedly tried to get him help prior to the alleged attack. Cody Balmer's family called police and mental health agencies for help as his condition dramatically worsened. Balmer's ex-girlfriend says police told them he didn't meet the standards for involuntary commitment and that there was nothing that they could do.
Fortunately for law enforcement, political violence expert and Republican Representative Dan Muser from Pennsylvania was able to cut through all the confusion and place the blame squarely where it belonged: on our patchworked and crumbling, notoriously underfunded and understaffed mental health system. Of course I'm kidding. Muser blamed Governor Shapiro for the attack on, wait for it, Governor Shapiro. And now, before you go concluding that political violence expert Dan Muser is blaming the victim, listen to this.
Now, I just can't help, though, but say on the left, and when you have a Tesla car bomb set outside a Trump hotel and it blows up virtually, and there's no denouncing from the left.
Right.
In fact, they're making jokes about it on comedy shows that only the left watches, for crying out loud, because it's not funny, and all it does is try to attack the president. So things like that. And I'll also just add this: I got into a little controversy with Governor Shapiro because I stated that he makes comments where he said President Trump was an existential threat to democracy, and he recently stated very falsely that President Trump and the administration was withholding funding for food for hungry Pennsylvanians, keeping those that are hungry from accessing food. Complete falsehood, completely made up.
Yeah.
And when you say things like that, that creates hatred.
It does.
Right?
It does. No, you're right.
I mean, hatred, and where does hatred go?
The violence.
Right.
And we've got to stop this.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We can't continue this way.
No room for violence, regardless of politics or religion or anything else.
Right.
Gee, I wonder if Muser is considering a run against Fetterman in 2028 and is looking for Trump's support because he sure seems to be auditioning for something. You can tell by how successfully he lies without shame. Equally shocking is that Newsmax did not call out this victim blaming. Whatever happened to those lofty journalistic standards of Newsmax? Well, this is what Shapiro had to say about the keen insight of Congressman Dan.
Congressman Dan Muser said that the lawsuits and falsehoods that you are spreading about Donald Trump are contributing to this political climate. Do you have a response to that?
He said that?
Yes.
Look, I've said for years, leaders have a responsibility to speak and act with moral clarity. It would appear that the congressman failed to measure up to that.
Okay, now look closely at Shapiro's reaction as he struggles to reply. You can see it written all over his face. The first thing he's thinking is, Man, that guy is a jackwagon, but I guess I can't really say that. Then he thinks, all right, let me take the moral high ground and not sound like I'm calling him an a-hole. Think quickly now. Oh, yes, that's what I'll say. And speak. So, see, the life of a Democratic politician isn't easy. And look, the last thing on earth you can call me is a Josh Shapiro fan. Kamala Harris rejected him as VP for a reason, and it'll take you about 5 minutes on the internet to figure out why. Still, the double standard for Democrats is unrelenting. The minute they call out Republicans or say what needs to really be said, the media starts pearl clutching. While people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert can pose with guns, can attack teenagers in the streets, and generally just say really stupid things.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
And the media has nothing to say. And I can tell you one other thing the media won't say. They won't say that the problem with violence in this country begins and ends with disenfranchised white males who grew up being socially isolated or picked on, fed a steady stream of righteous violence by the entertainment media, lack access to good mental health professionals, and are egged on by the fake machoism and false bravado of blowhards like Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Tom Homan. But yes, in the end, it's the Democrats and their hateful, angry rhetoric that's to blame. When are you going to end this scourge on our political life, Democrats? Trust me when I say I'm not holding my breath waiting for Republicans to take responsibility on anything. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.